Talking today about internships, how to develop internship programs within your own organization, how to tie that into local community building within obviously your local communities, and how to build that pipeline of talent that you can use to help grow that next generation of information security professionals that you can leverage within your own organizations. So first off, little props because of the title. Yay, Little John. All right, so my name's Tony Turner. I do security stuff. I'm a managing security consultant for GuidePoint Security. I manage the internship program internally. We've been running our program for a couple of years now, and it's been very, very successful for us. I also run B-Sides Orlando. Yay, B-Sides! And OWASP Orlando as well. And we have leveraged our interns as well as a lot of junior information security folks within the community to support B-Sides efforts, to support OWASP Orlando. And we've actually got one of our board members for B-Sides actually came on board initially as an intern and has since kind of progressed within our own organization. And he's been really instrumental in developing community at the local University of Central Florida, which I'll talk about a little bit later because they've done some really, really impressive things. So, first off, we can define the problem. There are solutions. Yeah, some are better than others. Okay, so the problem is real simple. We all kind of have a hard time finding qualified security resources to do work for us. And junior guys have a really hard time coming up. There's a pretty big gap here. I think we can fit somewhere in the middle here. So there's lots of people trying to solve this problem. One of the big techniques that a lot of companies use is they'll go through recruiters because they just can't find the people on their own. And quite frankly, recruiters suck. They're expensive. They don't understand what you really need. They tend to offend people when they reach out and contact them. It's entirely the wrong approach in most situations. I'm sure most of you have had this experience where maybe you've had a recruiter contact you and you had to do some bullshit ITIL certification at like a previous job. So then recruiter contacts you, oh great, we want you to come in and be an ITIL consultant for this company and blah, blah, blah. I was like, dude, I did like ITIL foundations because I had to and I could give a crap about it. But they just don't understand what you're looking for. They don't half the time they don't really understand what the company's looking for. And honestly, a lot of times the company doesn't even understand what they're looking for. And it's absolutely not the right approach. We got the InfoSec Mentors program that I'm really not sure what's going on with InfoSec Mentors these days. I haven't seen a lot come out of them in the last couple of years. But some of the early work was really, really, I think, really effective in kind of getting mentors and mentees together and some really good efforts. InfoSec burnout research that Jack Daniel has done has been really instrumental in helping folks identify why people are leaving the industry and what kind of the problems are within our industry. And I think that's really valuable information that we can bring into this. A lot of other folks have done research on breaking into InfoSec. DigiNinja did a bunch of data collection and surveys that he released. Brian Krebs has done some articles and interviews with various information security workers. A bunch of other people have gone down this road. And I think we've beaten it to death. The topic of how to break into InfoSec, at least from my perspective, has kind of just been beaten to death. I think a lot of people understand if I'm a junior person and I'm looking to break in, these are the things I need to be doing, right? But what are we doing as an industry from the other end to kind of help ease that transition, kind of ease that path? I mean, they're not the only ones with a need here. We need workers too. So we need to develop techniques and methodologies to kind of ease that transition and get these folks into our workforce, get them trained up, and so that they can be valuable resources that we can pull upon when we need people. Hacker Huntress has done a lot of really cool stuff from the recruitment standpoint. Okay, she's a recruiter technically, but we're cool with that because she's done a lot of good work to kind of help illustrate some of the issues with recruiters and things that job seekers can do to clean up their resumes and present themselves and market themselves in better ways. Okay, so when you think, what you think when I say intern, right? Most people, they think really low skill, don't know how to do anything. All they're good for is maybe getting coffee or doing other menial work. That's what interns really look like. Some of these kids are phenomenal. They do really, really awesome stuff. They're really smart. But big point I want to make here, and I think this leads to some of the perception, is those of us that have been in the industry for a long time, some of us get a little bit of a chip on our shoulders. There's some ego issues in our industry where we think, oh, well, I presented at 20 different conferences, and I presented Black Hat, and presented all these places, and I've done awesome research and developed all these tools. What can you do for me, you shitty little intern? Right? You're not a special snowflake. These kids, they come up in a much different world than we did. They have been living and breathing technology from the time that they can walk. The stuff that we do, a lot of times it's really not that hard, right? We tend to talk things up and make things a lot more difficult than they need to be. And I think if we break things down for these guys in a way that little bite-sized chunks that junior guys coming in can absorb and swallow a little bit easily, I think it makes a lot more sense to folks. Kill the egos, guys. I mean, seriously. These interns are not way beneath you. They have a lot of value to bring to the table. They don't know everything, obviously. They're looking for guidance when they come in. And sometimes they're going to fail, like we all did when we were coming up. But when they fail, it's not their fault. It's ours because we haven't provided them the right guidance. And I think that's a really important lesson to impart here. We need to manage our expectations, but we also need to understand that there is a lot of value that they can bring to the table. So, like I said, these interns are really freaking smart. Some of these interns that we hire are smarter than we are. They're doing really, really awesome work. The thing I find with most interns that we see is they're very, very focused on a few key areas. Research that's interested them when they were, in high school, or stuff they've done at college, interesting research projects they did in their academic life. And they don't really understand how that fits into the bigger picture. Maybe they've never had operational experience. They've never worked inside a company. They don't know what a real development organization looks like. They don't know what IT operations looks like. They understand the technology piece pretty well a lot of times. But they need help kind of integrating that into workflows and operational mindsets that they might not have had visibility into. So, like I said, they grew up in a different world than we did. What we like to think of as hacking and technology being very esoteric knowledge, it's kind of not anymore. I mean, when we were coming up, if you were that geek that was hacking away, doing BBS crap, whatever, you were kind of an outlier, right? All the other kids were doing other things. They were going playing sports or doing whatever the heck, and we were kind of like those nerds that were kind of over here and maybe a little socially awkward. This stuff is becoming a lot more commonplace these days. I think we all see from the growth of information security conferences, information security projects, hacking, the attendance that we see coming out to these events is becoming much, much more commonplace. There's a lot more skills that these kids are bringing to the table than we had when we were coming up. But the big thing is there's a lot more laws and restrictions around this stuff today than there were back then. What we were able to get away with when we were kids just isn't possible today. Kids are getting in a lot of trouble. I mean, I know one particular kid back home in Orlando, he had discovered some vulnerabilities in one of the FBI sites, and he didn't know how to responsibly disclose it, so he took to Twitter, right, to tell the FBI about a problem in their website. Well, he's a felon now. Right? That's kind of messed up. He was trying to do the right thing, but he just didn't know how to approach it. And now he's kind of screwed. So we need to be able to provide some, moral guidance and some, other guidance to these kids that are coming along so we can help steer them in the right direction so that they can do good the right way. Okay. So interns have a lot of really great successes. I want to showcase a few of them. Specifically showcasing on the interns that I've worked with personally over the last couple of years. So University of Central Florida does not have a security program. They have 2 crypto classes. That's it. That is the extent of their security classes. They developed, and actually one of our interns was responsible for growing a cybersecurity program at UCF. And some pretty awesome stuff of what they've been able to accomplish. They won National CCDC this year. Second year ever competing. Last year they were top 10. That's really awesome stuff. It wasn't because, the academic program prepared them for success. It was because the community reached out to the students and engaged with the students and helped them kind of grow organically within their own university programs that engaged the students and got them interested in security and got them interested in these kinds of things and provided a framework for them to excel and be successful. I mean, these guys practice every week just like any other, NCAA Division I team does on, how to secure environments. The CCDC team does this. The CTF team did the same thing. They practice all the time. They're doing real well. They just they placed top 5 in CSAW this last weekend. They had the CSAW quals. Again, they placed, I believe, top 5 or 6 in CSAW quals this last year. Of course, right behind PPP, like everybody else, right? They're consistently doing really, really cool stuff. We put these guys on billable work sometimes, not as a primary resource, obviously with a more senior resource that's managing the project, but we get really amazing work out of these kids. They are very, 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 very capable. I can't take credit for the things that they're doing. They're, like I said, they're amazing assets for us to have, but we can help them with some just basic leadership skills, just like the way you manage any other resource within an IT organization, right? The basic leadership principles, right? You have a mission and you have a vision, and you lay out that vision and you communicate it to your people and you empower them to be successful, right? And you encourage them, and you make them part of the success. Interns are no different, right? So we want to take a chance on these kids. Take a chance. The risk is very, very low. We don't have to pay these kids a lot. Pay them more than they would make at Starbucks. A lot of unpaid internships out there, I think, are really, really undervaluing the ability and quality of their interns. Pay them enough so that they're interested and engaged. It's like, wow, I can do okay in this industry. You don't have to pay them a ton. When I talk to my interns and have some very candid conversations with them about what kinds of rates are they seeing from other technology companies, other big companies that are offering them internship programs. And a lot of these companies are offering in excess of like $22 an hour for some of these internships. You don't necessarily have to match that. Get competitive, right? What I'm seeing for a lot of the interns coming in is they really just want interesting work to do, and they want to be able to make enough that they can have some spare change in college and do a little bit better than, again, their buddies at Starbucks, right? Give them interesting work, right? Again, we're going to be giving them some menial stuff, right? That's just the nature of internships, right? It's a lower cost resource. It just doesn't make sense from a business standpoint to allow them to have them do the same all the same work that senior resources are doing, or have senior resources doing the menial work that we have some of these guys doing, but mix it up, right? So maybe you've got a documentation project that just needs to be done because you've been meaning to do it for the last 6 or 8 months and you just haven't had time because everyone's super billable, or you've been doing other things, right? Sure, throw them on some of that work, but engage them in some of the billable or other more interesting work. Maybe you're not a consulting organization. Maybe you're more of an internal security worker. You've probably got some other either research projects or some other things that are potentially interesting that maybe plug them into other business processes, help them understand kind of how the organization ticks. That's very valuable for them, and it's going to help grow them as a resource that can then progress into something a little bit more senior as time goes along. The big thing is, before you start your internship program, have a list of projects that you want them to work on beforehand. The worst thing is when you hire a bunch of interns and then you blow through your projects because they're really motivated and they just knock it out like in the first week or two, and then it's like, okay, what do we do with these guys now, right? Make sure that you've got plenty of work for these guys to do. I think we all have the work for them to do, but think really hard about what you want them to be doing beforehand and what they're going to need to be successful so that those frameworks are in place before they hit the ground, right? So intern or slave, I was an intern at one point, earlier in my career, and that's kind of the way I felt. I was, copy bitch, go do this, go do that, right? I never got any visibility into what the company actually did other than ask me to make copies, right? Give them, like I say, give them interesting work, get them involved, okay? So sometimes we do have to say goodbye to interns, but sometimes we don't. The thing that I see big mistake that I see a lot of companies make is at the end of the summer they let all their interns go. Why? Why do you let all your interns go? Keep the ones that are valuable. You don't have to be full-time workers. I'm surely you have some project and work that can be done part-time. Maybe it's a low-priority project. Maybe it's you're providing a little bit of extra assistance on. Maybe it's a billable project. Maybe you need someone to go do some grunt work associated with it. Allow them to do that and define a progression plan so they can understand. Okay, so now I'm not a summer intern anymore. Okay, whether you call me an intern or whether you upgrade me to analyst or some other job title, right? Define that progression plan for them so they understand where they're going to be going and what their future is at the company, right? Because these kids have options. They don't have to stay working for you. They can get another internship next summer. But if you give them a reason to stick with you between this summer and next summer, you're going to have a lot better, you're going to get a lot better loyalty out of these kids. And the resources and time and effort that you're pouring into them is going to pay off a lot better. Maybe not always, but most of the time it will. But you need to have reasonable expectations. I mean, these kids, they have classes, they have exams, labs, study time. They may be doing their work nights or weekends. Whatever. And if that works within your workflows and you can work with that, then then support that. Sometimes these kids aren't quite ready to be grown-ups. They have some problems. Maybe there's some dependability issues. Maybe they don't really understand how to communicate really well. And sometimes we tell these kids, it's like, okay, maybe we're not extending your internship, but we'd like you to come back next summer and try again, right? And then some kids just are never going to work out. It's, some people you just kind of got to run away from because it's like, okay, don't ever call us again. The big thing I want to leave you guys with here as part of this presentation, not only building those programs internally, but it's the community that provides these resources. We need to reach out and engage the community. We need to grow that talent pipeline so that we have them available, so we don't have to call a recruiter, so we don't have to call every single person we know in the industry and see if they can find us someone, and so we don't have to pay for relocation packages either, right? So we've got these folks locally within our community that we already know them. We know what they're capable of. We've worked with them. We've developed these relationships. Do the awesome stuff that you're already doing, the projects that you're getting involved in. Engage other people in your community to collaborate with, right? Or organize an event. In Orlando, we had all these kind of splinter communities all over the place, and no one was really talking to each other. So that's why we stood up B-Sides Orlando a couple years ago. And the B-Sides movement has been really, really powerful in a lot of communities, not just Orlando, but around the world, and kind of helping bring cohesion to some of these communities, bring people together. Other local groups, DC groups, go meetup.com and see what's out there. Various city sects, all kinds of other local communities that some of them aren't really doing anything interesting in the enterprise. Just a bunch of kids getting together and hacking stuff. But these kids are motivated, they're interested, they're engaged, and they're looking for us or people like us to come out and talk to them and kind of help them, guide them on that path. Go out and give a talk, right? Give a talk in your local community. Get these people interested in the kind of work that you do. I mean, a lot of the work we do is very, very interesting, and a lot of these kids don't even realize that there's a valid career path here for them. They're just, screwing around. Google Summer of Code is a really great opportunity that's been really good for students and getting them involved in things. OWASP does some Google Summer of Code as well as a bunch of other NMAP and some other projects out there. I'm a little biased because I run an OWASP chapter, but we've done a lot of outreach and engagement with the academic community that I think has been really valuable. So I want to kind of, before I wrap up, I want to showcase a few different intern quotes here. The first, I asked some of my interns to kind of answer some questions about their internship. Kind of what are the best and worst ways you've seen companies try to engage? So direct engagement, right? Reach out. Have interviews that make sense, not just a scripted process, right? What kind of resources are you looking for, right? Don't take the shotgun approach, right? Get out there and speak to students, right? That recruiter approach is broken. It doesn't work. It's impersonal. How can companies better reach their target audience when they're trying to grow the internship program? Like I said, get out there. Go talk to them. Go talk to the target audience and teach them something cool. They want to see your passion. It's infectious. Another way is just to, reach out to extracurricular programs and let them know you're looking for interns. A lot of times they don't realize this. Let them know that you're hiring interns. You go out to security conferences. We're all the time looking for, senior guys, managing consultants, senior consultants, senior architects, whatever. Recruit some interns. So that's all I have. Does anybody have any questions?
What are some of the major companies in tech that have good internships?
Major companies in tech that have good internships. I'll be real honest, I haven't done a lot of research on the quality of the internship programs. So when I speak to my interns, the companies that I see them getting a lot, and granted, I'm in southeastern Florida, so some of this is relevant to the local community, but so Citibank, Lockheed Martin, some of these other companies, Disney, are offering a lot of they're the guys that we're competing with. Those are the guys that when we're talking to interns, they're like, well, Citi or Lockheed is going to have me doing this. What are you going to be having us do that's more interesting than that? Or maybe the subject of pay comes up. But those are the companies that we are frequently hearing, at least down in my neck of the woods. Yes? You mean prior to hiring or afterwards? So we engage them in a bunch of different activities. It's mostly project work. We do some team building exercises. We sent all our interns to DEF CON this last year, which is kind of unheard of. No one does that. But we did that this last year, which is really great for team building. We don't do like puzzles or challenges per se because they're getting enough puzzles and challenges with the work that we're giving them. Anyone else? Okay, I think we're out of time. So thank you for coming.